Welcome to the deep dive. We're going far, far back in time today, and we're treating your sources, this amazing collection of historical accounts and artifact descriptions, as the living record of a magnificent, vanished civilization.
That's right. Our focus today is the Marrakech Empire, and specifically, well, the story of its crown jewel, the city of Keth.
And we're looking at the whole arc here, aren't we? This isn't just one moment in time.
Not at all. We're tracing it from its height as this incredibly powerful, wealthy bread bowl of the world, all the way down to its collapse into a blasted wasteland.
But it's more than just an environmental collapse. The sources record a profound betrayal, a moral failure right at the heart of the story, all wrapped up in one person, the leader, Sakama Balbala.
So that's our mission. We're going to start with the glory of the Land of Seven Waters, then watch it crumble, and then dive right into the tragedy of Babala, what she traded for a myth, and, what it cost her in the end.
Okay, so let's start at the absolute peak. Your sources paint this picture of, well, almost unrivaled power. They call it the most glorious age.
They do. And it supposedly began after these strange, unnamed creatures were forced to retreat under the sands. And what follows is 1,000 years of conquest, wealth, great heroes, and gods.
1,000 years? That sounds like a civilization that feels, I don't know, divinely chosen.
They absolutely did. And you can see why when you look at the geography. They called their city Keth, the Land of Seven Waters.
Which is so hard to picture now, given what it became.
Exactly. You have to imagine these fair plains just blazing with emerald forests and sapphire rivers. They weren't just feeding themselves, they were the bread bowl of the world. Their prosperity supported entire regions.
And this wealth, it was managed so efficiently. I love the descriptions of the huge toll gates. They were more than just customs points. They were like the choke points for all global trade.
And that's where you really see their mindset. The protectors who ran these gates, who oversaw this immense flow of goods, cloth, gems, coin, they wore simple ornaments.
So the power wasn't in personal wealth, it was in the system itself.
Precisely. They had this deep-seated belief that they were the ones who kept mortals in their rightful place. Just pure, unshakable confidence.
It's bordering on arrogance, really. But what about the culture? Beyond the commerce and the stern gatekeepers, what made Keth feel like a real place?
Oh, it was rich with these beautiful, specific rituals. Take the incense of Keth. It wasn't just some perfume, it was their identity.
Made from the sap of the Atori tree, right?
Right, the very one. And that tree was only known to grow at the exact meeting point of their 7 rivers. So you see, their culture, their spirituality, their environment, it's all tied together. If the rivers die.
The scent of their civilization vanishes forever. That's incredible, powerful.
And then you have the rain festival. In this society with massive wealth gaps, you have the rich and poor, side by side, chasing this symbolic beetle through the streets as the rains came.
And the bounty was shared equally by everyone.
It was. It shows this early value system, trying to balance their power with some kind of communal spirit. But there was a crack forming.
Even then, at their peak.
Yes. Even with all the peace and wealth, the sources say that many worried that it had also left the people soft.
So they were already worried. Worried that all that security was making them complacent, that their success was actually somehow weakening them from the inside.
And that fear turned out to be, well, prophetic. The first big crisis they faced was ecological. The name they had for their home, the Vestiary Plains, eventually became nothing more than an elegant lie.
So what happened? How does the bread bowl of the world just dry up and blow away? It wasn't an invasion. It was something slower, wasn't it?
It was a slow-motion catastrophe unfolding over thousands of years. A climate shift, yes, but it seems it was compounded by their own actions.
The result being total transformation.
Total. Those 7 sapphire rivers are described in the later texts as just dry stones. Their entire way of life had to change. They went from a riverboat culture to one of caravans, crossing a harsh desert, a blasted wasteland of broken rock, crimson sands, and salted earth.
You can just feel the desperation in those later accounts. What was it like in the city, in Keth, during those last days?
The city's beauty just decayed with the environment. Keth was famous for its hanging gardens and artisans of, skill beyond belief.
But that all shifted to pure survival.
Completely. The sources describe the roofs of Keth being rife with anything and everything that could hold water, just waiting desperately for any drop of rain.
It's such a stark contrast to the rivers they once had.
And this brings us to this really chilling thought from their own historians. They connected their rigid culture to their fate. The The quote is that the people believed themselves the most ordered, but that tradition turned their forests to salt.
Wow. So they're blaming themselves.
It suggests it wasn't just bad luck. It implies that the very practices their wealth was built on, maybe unsustainable farming, maybe diverting too much water, were things they were too proud, too traditional to ever change.
So the same confidence, that order that made them masters of the world.
Was the very thing that made them unable to adapt. It rendered their plains barren. They didn't just die of thirst, they died of inflexibility. And while the city itself was literally dying of thirst, another kind of disaster was unfolding. A moral disaster, right at its core. This is where Sakema Balboa comes in.
And what's so important here is the timing. This betrayal happened when Keth still had power, when its trade routes were still the envy of the known world.
Exactly. This wasn't a crime of desperation. This was a calculated choice by a high-ranking leader, a Sakema.
We have to talk about what she betrayed. Her Akara. What does that actually mean?
It's so much more than just a military unit. The Akara was the fundamental building block of their society. It was your sworn, chosen family. Closer than almost anything.
So this wasn't just treason against the state. It was like murdering your own family.
It was. And for what? For a myth. She was chasing something called Welikath, an elixir she believed would give her, well, godlike power.
The historians who wrote this down were not kind to her. They just call her a fool.
And maybe she was. But you have to wonder, for a leader to sacrifice everything, was it just greed? Or was she so convinced Keth was doomed that she was looking for some magical shortcut, some way to find power outside a system she saw as dying?
A fool, maybe, but a very effective one. She led foreign warriors through secret paths right to the Halani gates.
The betrayal was total. Her entire Akara was slain to the last woman. They were completely ambushed. They trusted her.
And the irony is just so immediate, so brutal. She delivers the city to these bandits, and her reward for this ultimate act of treason is
Not Welikath.
nothing.
They put a spear through her gut right there in the same passage. Her pursuit of mythical power ended with a very real, very sharp piece of metal.
But death wasn't the end of it for her. The sources are clear. For what she did, death was not punishment enough.
No. The wise women of Keth, the ones who were left, they decided her crime demanded something eternal.
So they enacted this ancient ritual to trap her soul as a djinn, and the sentence was just staggering.
1,000 years. 1,000 years. And they made a decree. Let no woman or man of Mariketh blood enter her prison before her time is served.
What's so incredible, though, is Balbala's own account of this. She says that her imprisonment as a djinn wouldn't have been possible without her willful agreement.
She actually says, I accepted. I let it happen because I deserved it.
That changes everything. It's not just a punishment, it's a self-imposed penance. She chose this.
She did. And this existence,
Hmm?
she describes being a djinn as having the river inside you, the essence of who you are, just torn out. Then it's speared or bottled or chained.
A prolonged existence, but not a form anyone should desire.
No, the suffering is constant. She says she's perpetually hungry but can't eat.
Yeah.
Always tired, but she can never sleep. It's just endless agony trapped in her own consciousness.
And this is where the final awful irony comes in, the one that ties her personal fall directly to the fate of her entire civilization.
Her deepest desire as this trapped spirit, it's not power, it's not release. She says she would give anything.
Just to feel the chill of a single sip of water one more time.
The leader who betrayed the land of seven waters for a mythical drink is now sentenced to an eternity of thirst, while her homeland literally dried up and turned to salt and sand around her.
Her fate and Keth's fate are perfectly, horribly mirrored. So we've watched Keth go from this vital, thriving city of sapphire rivers, so proud it worried about growing soft, to a victim of both environmental ruin and a devastating internal betrayal.
And the two failures are completely intertwined. The sources present this complete moral collapse.
Yeah.
A leader who sacrifices her community for a taste of imaginary power and ends up eternally thirsty in a homeland that shares her fate. The judgment of history on her is just absolute.
It really is. So let's leave our listeners with this thought. Think about that decreed imprisonment. Let no woman or man of Mariketh blood enter her prison before her time is served. 1,000 years.
But we know Keth itself disappeared into the sand, maybe even before the sentence was up.
So does her prison still exist somewhere out there, buried under all that rock and sand, waiting for a clock to run out? Or did the very landscape of her dishonor just vanish before her time was even served? 1,000 years is a very long time to hold a grudge against a ghost, especially a thirsty one.